Digimon Masters was a game that I picked up last year and I played it for about 5 minutes.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Now, I thought that because it still had some kind of player base, that there was a reason that people kept coming back, that they thought the game was actually a hidden gem or the nostalgia was just really good. But after I got past the tutorial and I saw what was on offer, the graphics, the UI, the gameplay just wasn't enough to keep me around. Even for 2009, the game is still fairly dated, so trying to go back to it now, it just does not hold up whatsoever. Okay. You good? Cool. And if you want a full breakdown of exactly what's wrong with the game, a really good video is Josh Strife's video on the worst MMOs. He plays through all the MMOs that he can find, and he played this one, and yeah. You can watch that, but not before finishing this video, okay?
Wait! No! Don't leave! I'll kill you all!
Jump to last week, we seemingly accidentally get a trailer for a new Digimon Masters game, and this one looks leagues better than the last one ever did. Dude, you okay? There's already a decent amount of differences that you can see between the old and the new games from the trailer. The first thing that I actually want to touch on comes at the end of the trailer. This is where you see Tai and Mimi on a train heading to the digital world. While Tai and Mimi are the only tamers that we see on the train, I'm hoping that we see Matt and Izzy and the rest of the gang as well, just to give some variety of like who you can play as. Because currently it doesn't look like you can choose to make your own avatar. That might be one of the limitations of this, which is kind of what we saw with the original Digimon Masters game. And this scene is very reminiscent of like the Borderlands 2 introduction, where you're on a train and you're picking your class and who you want to play as you go through the game. Tai then pulls out his Digivice, and while it's default selected to Agumon as the partner, you see that the options, if you translate them from Korean, say next partner or start game. It looks like you aren't locked into specifically using the canonical partner for the tamer that you choose. Even if you did start with Agumon and then later down the line you got the choice to choose to your favorite Digimon, it's probably better from the start of the game that you can pick one that you prefer. They don't seemingly show us how many options there are to pick from, but I'm hoping that the roster is actually quite large. The only worry that I have is that this does, with the art style and with the elements that we've seen in recent MMOs, this could end up being a bit like
Genshin Impact is an open-world action RPG game
where you pay to be able to pull the Digimon or Tamer that you want, and that could end up being really grindy and monotonous and not fun. So I'm really hoping that that's not the way that they're going with this. The next difference that I can tell is that you can choose to play from either the Digimon or the Tamer's perspective, which is a really good choice in my opinion. The Tamer still has abilities to be able to impact the gameplay, but this way you're not always playing as like the WoW hunter class, sending out your animal companion and fighting. You can play as the Digimon and have it be your abilities that you're using against other Digimon. At least you have the option to choose which way you want to play. So that's definitely a step forward. I think the button to do it is just this one. It has like the eye and switch perspective, so you can just actively on the fly change the way that you're perceiving the game. Another thing that I noticed is when digivolving from Palmon into Togemon, the abilities didn't stay consistent from one to the next. Now you might expect them to change. We did see that when Agumon digivolved into Greymon, that the abilities changed. They still had this kind of like one-to-one relationship. Sharp Claws and Pepper Breath changed into Great Horn Attack and Nova Blast respectively. So they still had this kind of like physical scratch or horn attack to fire attack change. But that's not the case with Togemon. From what I could tell, Togemon only had light speed punches, but when going back into Palmon, it had Poison Ivy and Stinky Breath. Stinky Breath the move, not Stinky Breath the thing that I have after eating garlic. I don't know. So abilities might be something that you select or tech into in each stage rather than just a straight replacement, which would be interesting because it means that you can approach the game in different ways depending on the stage of Digimon that you're in. Which leads into the next thing. You can also Digivolve mid-battle. So if you know that Togemon has better moves for the fight that you're in, you might want to switch into that. But we don't know what kind of advantages and drawbacks that these have as of yet. Taking down Garbagemon didn't seem any more difficult for Togemon than it did for Palmon, but that's just from what we can see in the trailer. Also, it did feel weird that Garbagemon was a level 3 Digimon, so levels and stages seem to be completely separate. Not sure how that's going to translate into gameplay either. Players in Digimon both have their own health bars, so that does make a return from the original Digimon Masters, but there is a question as to how that's going to play out, because I mean, I didn't play enough of the original Masters to actually see what happens when your Tamer gets hit, but you don't get hit during this trailer. They don't use any HP recovery items. Greymon takes 2 of the Garbagemon rockets to the face and doesn't lose any health. Because this is obviously a trailer, they probably just put on God mode to make sure that they didn't die while they were trying to get footage. Now, we already talked about the train at the start, but we do see that you can play in the human world. So if you start the game heading towards the digital world, then at some point it seems like you're actually going to go from the digital world back to the human world. So there's probably going to be elements of crossover like we saw in the original Digimon Masters as well. They did only tease 3 different areas in the digital world, but they were cool looking. This game does look really nice, and that shouldn't come as too much of a surprise because Move Interactive were the ones that uploaded this trailer, and they already made Digimon Super Rumble, which is another MMO, but it's in a more of an RPG style where the combat stops and you actually do turn by turn instead of like a live action one that we can see is happening in this trailer. Quickly after uploading this trailer though, they did take down the video.
Shut it down!
Gamer Braves did a whole article about this on the upload and then takedown of the video. They asked Bandai if they were publishing a Digimon Masters Evolution game, and they denied that they were. This is probably just because it's not supposed to be public yet. I don't think that there's much of a reason to doubt Move Interactive making this game since they have already made a different Digimon IP. It's probably just that it wasn't supposed to be active yet. There is a Tokyo Game Show that's going to be taking place very shortly that this is probably supposed to line up with so they could announce the game with a new trailer and everybody could go watch it. I'm really keen to find out more about this game. Likely this game, when it does come out, will go through a local only version where it's released only in Korean before eventually becoming public to the world, but I'm hoping that the 2024 date isn't just for Korea, that it's for everybody. I haven't seen Digimon Super Rumble get an English translation, but maybe because this is more of a traditional MMO style, if they do see that we are interested, that they will put some localization support behind it, and that way we can get it in English, which would make things a lot easier than me fumbling through what I have tried to do so far with Digimon Super Rumble, which is downloading the game, getting to character creation, and being really overwhelmed. Catch you next time. Cheers.